All right, we are going live. Happy Friday. Welcome to another installment of Get a Clue in 52 for Speakers with Sue Mathieson, all the way down under. Sue, happy Friday. What is happening?
What is happening? Well, it's Saturday morning, very early for me. It's been an interesting week, a few challenges, but a few really good environments that I've been on, really positive, people engaging. And it was funny, you know, we're talking about tips for speaking, and I was at a networking event and wanted to see everybody, so I stood up to speak, and someone said, "Oh, that's the speaker."
You were identified right away. Okay. That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
So that was, I had, yep, that's me.
All right.
That was quite funny. So we're here today. So yeah,
that's cool. It's a feel good. It's like I can relate to that. I mean, I joined this organization, Provisors, earlier in the year, and it's a networking group, higher level. You know, you got to have 10 years in your vertical to get in the group and blah, 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 blah. But, you know, I take what I do for granted sometimes. Do you know what I'm saying? For me, it's so normal, like breathing or blinking, right? But then I stand up and then I feel the heads turn. You know what I'm saying? And then people come up to me like, Jeff, I need to talk with you. You're so, you don't. And I get surprised, but I shouldn't be. But it's nice when people recognize the work that you put into being who you are. Yeah.
exactly.
And so what we want to do is we want to help other people with our tips, right? We're doing Get a Clue in 52. This is the speaker edition. And as always, the Get a Clue in 52 books, they have 5 categories. And we know that section 1 in this book was playing the integrity game. We took the integrity game 10-point model and we brought the 10 points in and just turned them into our first 10 tips to lay down the foundation that we then brought out our brand on top of. So our competitive advantages, our differentiation, our design, landscaping, and look, feel, etc. You know, communicating what people can expect from us. Of course, it's that structural integrity, that foundation that allows us to deliver on all of those brand promises, etc. Now we're ready to be fearless and actually go to work on preparing speeches. Okay. And it was fun to go through section 3 because of the 10 tips in there, 8 of them are the 8 steps to fearless public speaking, 8 steps to conversational public speaking. We started with 2 mindset tips because we don't want to build a mansion on top of quicksand, right? So we always want to make sure we ready the mind and then get into action. And one of those steps towards being fearless is the outline, you know, the outlining strategy. Once we've done purpose and topic and main points and sun points, now it's time to put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard and start to get it out of our head. And we want to organize our thoughts, etc. So in section 3, we talked about it from a strategic perspective, but in section 4, where we are now, we're dedicating like the entire section to the elements, forms, and functions to execute outlining strategy, right? It's that important. The 5th step to fearless public speaking is arguably the most important. And it's the one that's chock full of elements, forms, and functions. So here we are. Now, within this section, of course, and by the way, we're going to end with a lot of fun, 12 tips on practice building to the music, right? To the tune of 99 bottles of beer on the wall, 99 bottles. Okay, 12 accountabilities on the wall, 12 accountabilities. They're not on the wall, they're on the org chart. And anyway, we'll get to that. But right now we're here. We're in section 4. And we know that we started again with mindset. Tip number 31 in this section, first tip, was all about the mind of the audience. And then now we're getting into the introduction of any speech. The very first thing we want to do is command attention. I don't want anything coming out of my mouth until I have the audience's attention. Like, you know, why speak into nothingness? I'd rather speak into the listening of my audience. So there's a lot of ways that we can grab attention. As soon as I have attention, then I want to very quickly, very succinctly state what this is about. Even if they know what it's about, we still want to remind them and maybe re-engage them. And it's not because they don't know what it's about. What it's about, the reason that we want to remind them what it's about is so that we're beginning or we're continuing this process of ushering our audience, right? We're not just speaking at them, we're taking them through, right? And so that's the real function and purpose there. And then finally, if I've got your attention and now you know what this is about, now I'm going to remind you why you want to listen. And you may already know why you want to listen, but your reason for listening might be different from somebody else's reason for listening. You follow? And so I want to give as many, a couple, 2, 3, 4 reasons. Maybe some of you this, or some of you that, or maybe you're here because. Well, why are we here? Here's what we're going to do today, right? And then, why listen to you? This is where we're at today, right? So grab the attention, tell them what it's about, why they should listen to the content, but why they should listen to me. Like, who am I? Who are you?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
So today we're all about establishing ethos, which is what Aristotle taught us, which is ETH, ethics, ethical. It's credibility. Who are we? What gives us the right? Why are we even the right? Forget the right, but why are we the best person, or why are we an ideal person? What is it about us? So there's a difference, right? When we're readying the audience is listening, number one, I need to ready you for the content. And then the other thing too is I need to ready you for me, right? I'm not everybody's flavor, right? Some people are like, Jeff, you're going too fast, or Jeff, you're going on too many tangents, or Jeff, too many dad jokes, dude. Enough with the dad jokes, right? And by the way, it's so funny because we started a semester at San Diego State earlier this week. And so I've got 88 brand new students, and I'm laying all the dad jokes down, and I'm fast-paced, humor-laced in their face. I'm making fun of myself. I told them, I said, hey, the holidays are upon us, and what happens when you remove all the insides of a hot dog? And they're like, what? I said, well, you get a Halloweenie. And they didn't want to laugh because they're cool. They're freshmen. They're 18-year-olds, right? I'm not going to laugh at that they couldn't help themselves, right? So I laughed their way to the learning. They're, on their own for the first time. They're living in the dorms. There are tons of distractions, and they're not all necessarily communication majors. I mean, I got aerospace engineering majors and, zoology majors, and they are taking the course because they have to, not because they want to. Right. And so one of my favorite things is like, all right, well, guess what? A little love for the professor. I'm standing in front of 22 people that don't want to be here. What about me? A little love for me. So let's work together here. So I'm pumped up and I'm energized because I've got this opportunity to make an impact and a difference on these 88 young minds. Aztecs, the pride, and everything's firing up again. The fall, summer's over. We're getting into our rhythms, and it's just super cool. So I'm happy to be here on a Friday. Now, before we get into the word for word, Sue, let me ask if you've got anything that you want to say or express or communicate before we get into the word for word.
What we've been talking about, the opportunity, the elements of an introduction, even that much. Yes, we're talking about it for speeches, but I am finding opportunity after opportunity to apply that in so many different ways. So anyone that is out there watching, yes, we're focusing on speakers, but a majority of what we're talking about is applicable to almost anyone, and you can take these principles and apply them in so many different situations, and that's where the gold is.
I love words like applicability. I don't even know if that's a word. Right? I like freedom within the framework. And it's funny to say, oh, this book is really for speakers and non-speakers alike. But like, come on, is there anyone among us who's really a non-speaker?
No.
Right? So that's super fun. That's good. I appreciate that. And then, as you mentioned, like, if for those of you out there, well, if you are out there, you don't have to stay out there. You can come on in here. If you want to join Sue and I live inside the studio, very simple, tinyurl.com/cluetip35, right? So, a Q-tip is when you clean out your ears with the moisture and the whatever, but a clue tip is when we put good content into those ears, right? So thank you. See, back to the dad jokes. Happy Friday, everybody. We're getting ready to rock and roll. So, all right. So without any further ado, what do you say we hit this? Tip number 35, establishing ethos. Get a clue in 52. Oh my God, only 17 tips left after this. Can you believe it? Yeah. All right, here we go. Establishing ethos. Element 4, establish your credibility. The next logical question in the minds of your audience after what is this all about and why should I care will be, well, who are you to deliver this speech? I know why I should listen, but why should I listen to you? There is a subtle but enormous difference between why the audience should pay attention to a speech on a given topic and why they should listen to you give that speech. We are talking about credibility. And if yours was not established in any sort of third-party introduction, and even if it was, you must do it yourself in the introduction. In public speaking, four things make us credible. They are: 1, appearance. Initial credibility. How do you appear? Well-groomed, prepared, confident, jovial, etc. All right, not word for word. I added that word in there. Okay. Number 2. So we got number 1, appearance, right? As we call initial credibility. How do you appear? Do you appear ready? Do you appear on time? Do you appear confident? Are you well-groomed? Do you appear to be taking it seriously? What's the appearance, right? I was telling you this morning, Sue, about a great conversation I had with one of my favorite people on the planet, Troy Hoffman. And when we got on the Zoom, the first thing that he did was like, oh my God, Jeff, you look great. You look grounded. You look stable. You look firm. You look like steadfast. Your energy is great. That's just how I appeared to him. And trust me, it made the rest of the meeting go a lot better, right? Do you know what I'm saying? Like to start off like that, to appear to have vibrant energy, steadfast energy, to look fit or to have right? It was just a wonderful thing. All right. So number 1 is appearance. It's the initial credibility. It's the first thing people observe, right? Then you open up your mouth and it can all fall apart from there. So let's talk about number 2. Okay. Competence, factual credibility. Do you know your stuff? Are you factual, logical, informed, verifiable? That's competence. Number 3, trustworthiness. This is earned credibility. How do you know your stuff? Well, I saw it on the internet. Joe down the street posted this on the internet, and no. Right? You understand what I'm getting at? Earn credibility. How do you know your stuff? Got sources? Are they reliable? Have experience? Is it relevant? Is what we wrote word for word. And then number 4 is my favorite, of course, Sue. Number 4 is dynamism, emotional credibility. Are you passionate? Are you animated? Are you non-verbally engaging, dynamic, and or enthused? So what is your credibility? How did you become passionate about this topic? What personal experience do you have with the topic or issue? Are you published, degreed, certified, well-known, sought after, licensed, distinguished? As far as your introduction is concerned, all that you need is at least one statement of credibility, but depending on the event or occasion and other factors, you may need more. Of course, there is an out of bounds for too much praising of ourselves. It pays dividends to put careful thought into what your credibility is and how it will be communicated to your audience.
I believe this is a very important part of our introduction. By truly owning the reasons for choosing a particular topic and sharing these gracefully, our credibility will shine through the tone of our voice and our body language. There will be consistency in the words we speak and our nonverbal presentation.
Remember, this is still just the intro. So if you cannot prepare a third party to make a powerful and credible introduction of you prior to your speech, make sure you are efficient and effective on this step within your introduction. So let us review. The 5 elements of an introduction. Number 1, command attention. Ask a question. Very simply, the best, easiest way to command attention is to ask a question, but we talked about others a couple of tips ago. Number 2, state your topic or purpose. What is one sentence that succinctly declares what your speech is about or intended to do? 3, motivate the listener, or as we talked about last week, motivate the listening.
Yes.
Rather than just the listener. Wow, does that expand our understanding? Motivate the listener versus motivate the listening, right? Provide reasons why your audience should listen to your speech and what we just covered today. Number 4, establish your credibility. Why are you the person most qualified to tell your audience? Maybe you don't even be the most qualified, just appropriately qualified. I don't have to be the best person in the world about anything. I just have to be good enough to get the job done so that people that are showing up get what they came to get. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes.
And that's not word for word. I'm elaborating, but okay. Back to word for word. Establish your credibility. Why are you the person most qualified to tell your audience what you're about to tell them? See, it's not tough. Just answer some simple questions and you will skate through the 4 elements above and be ready to move on to the 5th element of your introduction, which we'll talk about next week. Signpost the main points. And as we wrote here, read on to learn more. So if you got your copy of Get a Klu in 52, read on. If you want to get a PDF of it, just send us an email. We'll send you the PDF of it. No problem. We prefer that you buy it on Amazon.com. But you can read on or you can wait and join us next week online. But there we go. Yes. That's tip number 35. Ain't no jive. We've done 35 of these tips, Sue. So what's some feedback? What's some feedback that you might have when we read through this? Isn't it interesting that we wrote this so many months ago last year? and now our eyeballs are on it again anew. And we have all of our experience in between now and then that is framing our lenses through which we view all of this. So is there anything that coming to mind for you, like versus when we wrote it versus how it shows up for you now, especially because you've had so many public speaking opportunities in between it yourself and you're applying this so much? What in other words, open-ended. I'm asking you to give some comments and some feedback.
Yeah, well, two things come to mind. Part of the appearance, competence, trustworthiness, those elements, it's not even just about public speaking, it's how you show up, I think, in life. And I've had an experience this week that was challenging, and it comes about because I'm being associated with someone that I'm working with on a project who is displaying almost the total opposite of the positive things that we're talking here. And the lens.
Hopefully they're not joining us live right now, by the way, and they don't know who you're talking about.
No, they don't know who I'm
you may not care, by the way, but go ahead.
Well, to a degree, no, because the disappointing part is that the lens that people are viewing that person through is being carried by association to me. And the challenge now for me is to work around that, but it just, to me, that's the first thing, that it doesn't matter what situation you are in. These appearance, competence, trustworthiness, dynamism apply every day. But the other thing that was coming to mind when we were going through them too is, from a speaking perspective, when we really consider them, spend time preparing and thinking about how are we going to address these in that intro portion of our speech, it gets us away from the faking it till you make it. Because there's congruency then between, or when there's congruency between each of those elements, it allows you to show up in whatever environment it is that you're speaking into as you. You're not, you've got that confidence that, okay, I've taken the time to dress well, to make sure that my appearance is good. You've done, your stuff. You've been able to put together a package that, in your own mind, that goes, yeah, I do know my stuff for these reasons. And in your own mind, you can list the reasons, and you've got that grounding. And as you work through those, so that when you get to that dynamism of emotional credibility, you are passionate. You can show up and go, hey, because in yourself, you've got that confidence. Hey, this is me. I'm here for a reason. I've got something to share. And because all of that is congruent, you show up authentically because it's you, and it flows through from you internally. It's not a performance because it's coming from within.
There's fidelity. There's fidelity is a really good word when the nonverbal is congruent, as you said earlier, with the verbal. That it's not forced dynamism. It's not fake. It's not phony. Somebody's not fake laughing or fake gesturing. That the gestures, the expressions, the tonal changes and pitch changes and volume up and downs, it's consistent. There's a tether.
Yes.
From the nonverbal to the verbal, and that creates fidelity, believability, and that's that form of credibility. Real quick, I just want everybody to know, I see some eyeballs on the little icons that show me what's happening out there on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever you may be watching. Feel free to come on in and get into the conversation. We're talking about the tip number 35. We're talking about establishing credibility right up front in our introduction of our speech. And ethos is like Aristotle's word for credibility. And we get the word ethics out of that. But now we're to just talk about fidelity, ethical, congruent. honest passion, honest competence, honest trustworthiness, right? And then an honest effort to appear ready and prepared and excited about the engagement. Go ahead, Sue, keep going. If you want to join us, by the way, come on in.
Yeah, I'd love to come. Love to have people out there come and join us in the conversation. I believe then that's what, when we were talking about why are you the person most qualified to tell your audience, because you are showing up in a way that you are going to give your audience the content they need in a way that they're connecting with, because you are being you, and so that energetically you're going to bring them in. And that's what makes you, like you were talking before about not necessarily having to be the person that knows the most or that sort of thing. But that's when you get that congruency, it means that you are the person that's going to be most effective in giving the content that your audience needs.
Yeah, and here we go. Look at that. We've got Dee. What's happening?
Hi, Dee.
Happy Friday. Where'd she go? Oh, she's going to come back. I know she is. She always does.
She will.
I need to connect. Oh, she's just okay. But for those of you that don't know, if you want to learn about sustainability, you want to learn from Dee. And she'll come back on in a second. I've got her name up and ready to go. That banner, we never deleted that banner the first time that we created it. So she'll come back to us in a second. But just to reset, I'm with Sue Mathieson. She's certified integrity game coach, and she's just somebody that is the first time she saw me speak in Melbourne, Australia. She took right away to she's picking up right away what I was putting down, and she's been a fan of everything that I've been doing since. And now we're collaborators. Now we're co-authors, and it's just a treat to be with you. By the way, I'm Jeff Klubeck. I'm founder and author of the Integrity Game, and we are here rocking Get a Klu in 52, the speakers version, right? Get a Klu in 52 for speakers. Dee may or may not come back. We'll pray for Dee to get back in. It's always good to see her. But yeah, she's a dynamo herself. She's an emerging author and speaker, and she's got tons of content. And it's a treat to see her come on board and understand the value that she's getting from these sessions. And here we go. So let's try this again. Dee, I was just singing your praises. Did you hear? Oh, next time she comes back, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just so excited to see her. Maybe it short circuits her connection. And then, of course, as a matter of review, we are in tip number 35. We're talking about establishing credibility. We broke down the 4 things that make a speaker credible, and it's fun to review them. I kind of like how it's written, right? Appearance is initial credibility. Competence is factual credibility. Trustworthiness is earned credibility, and dynamism is that emotional credibility. We want to, any one of those could work in terms of securing. And that's before Dee came on. That's the point that I wanted to make. I kind of want to get away from this word. Like I'm reading this and I saw, why are you the person most qualified? Well, the reality is you don't have to be the person most qualified, but you do have to be appropriately or viably credible. So I don't have to know the most. I don't have to be the best. I don't have if I were to rewrite this, I would have changed that word to, instead of most qualified, appropriately qualified, viably qualified, believably qualified. And does that make sense? And so that's one of the things that's fun. I kind of set you up with that question because this is my experience. When I read this word for word, I'm like, wait a second. I'm like 9 months smarter now than I was, or 10 months smarter now than I was when I wrote this. So, I wouldn't use that word necessarily. And it's fun to see how things change and how things are different, even on the micro level, right? But I want the audience right now to know you don't have to be the best in the world. You don't have to know the most. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to, right? But you do have to be credible. And so we don't want to mistake credible from perfect, credible from most, credible from best. Well, I don't have to be the best person for the occasion. I just have to be viable for the occasion. I have to be believable for the occasion. I have to have fidelity within the occasion. I have to help my audience get what they came here to get, right? And it's very interesting. Going back to my example of being in the classroom, I was making the point to my students earlier in the semester, like, hey, I'm part of a teaching collective. It's general education at San Diego State, which means there's like over 100 sections offered and somewhere near 2,400 students that are taking COM 103 this semester at San Diego State. And most of those sections are taught by graduate teaching assistants, people that within the last 2 or 3 years finished their bachelor's degree, and now they're getting a master's degree, and now they're getting teaching opportunity, right? And that gives them some money. It's part of their financial deal. They get an office, they get to immerse in the department. Teaching keeps them on campus, and so they're in the right. So I remember, and I was telling my students, like, guess what? Been there, done that. Right? I'm a lecturer, not a graduate teaching assistant, right? So the idea is it's different credibility, isn't it? Right? But the other thing too is that I also have a different reason for being there myself. You follow? I remember when I was a graduate teaching assistant, I remember I got a C when I took public speaking. Not because I'm not a great speaker, not because I'm not a great student, it's because I was a freshman. I was distracted with having 2 jobs, 12 units, having to drive home every other weekend to deliver pizzas and do laundry to make money and come back, and getting stuck on the freeway and wondering how I'm going to make it back to San Diego. And that was my jam. That's why I didn't get a good grade, right? So here I was in the classroom. Now I'm teaching people, and it's like, should I tell them that I got a C in public speaking? And now that I'm the instructor for the course. We're going to try that. I'm going to
unlucky.
slow down. Hang on. I'm going to slow down. I'm going to quiet my energy so that I'm not the energetic reason this isn't working.
How about now? Can
you
hear
all right.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Now, this is so funny, Sue, because I have every reason in the world to believe it was because I calmed down. That's super funny. Dee, it's great to have you. We were just in this. Let me just finish this thought real quick, right? I used to teach because I wanted teaching experience. I used to teach because it was nice to have, even a little bit of income, but to keep me on campus and keep me stable. Like the reasons I was teaching and the credibility I brought into the classroom is like, hey, I've got a bachelor's degree and I'm getting a master's. That was my credibility. But I couldn't even tell them that I got an A in the course that I was teaching them. Make sense? Right? Now my credibility is totally different. My reasons for being in the classroom totally different. So I was explaining to my students, hey, a lot of the people that you're living in the dorms with that are going to tell you about their COM 103 class, there may be some differences. Right? I got to tell you that as much as I'm trying to conform or support the collective, I can't go rogue and do things my own way. And because it goes up to the director of the program and then the director of the school. They say, well, my professor says this. How come I have to do that? I can't. I gotta plug into what everybody's doing and make it a uniform experience for the general education with 23,000 students. So I explained that to them, like, hey, I'm going to try to do the best I can to make this experience as similar as possible to everything else that the other 2,300 students are experiencing. And you're just going to have a different experience than all of them because there's only one me. I'm me, and I'm 52 years old, and I'm bringing 22 years of experience into the game, and I've been around the world, and I actually get paid to speak, right? And these graduate teaching assistants they've never been paid $5,000 to speak for an hour. You follow? And that's no offense to them, and I used to be in that situation, but I am bringing a different ethos into the classroom. So I don't, and then even so, that doesn't mean I'm the best public speaking professor in the planet, but my ethos is there. It's different. And so back to what I'm getting at here, when we read the word for word in summary, the fourth piece, D, when we read word for word, it says, establish your credibility. Why are you the person most qualified to tell your audience what you're about to tell them? And I was telling Sue, if we can go back, I would change that word most. I would change it to viable. Why are you viable? Why are you effective? Why are you believable? Why? You don't have to be the most, the best, the this, or the that, but you have to have enough credibility for the viability to keep your audience flowing. Remember, we're still in our introduction, and we're still trying to establish the usher, the escort, the public speaking Sherpa strategy. I'm not just talking at you, I'm guiding you somewhere. And so I get your attention, tell you what it's about, why you should listen to the content, and now why you should listen to me. It's not because I'm the best, but it is because and it is because of that. There may be better speakers out there. There may be better professors out there, but the reason you're listening to me today is because of this, and this. And now we're setting up and ready to say, so let's get into it. Let's preview. And we're going to talk about previewing next week. But Dee, I don't know how much, if any, of what we were talking about prior to you joining, you were able to pick up on, but you're invited, of course, to join the conversation. It is always good to see you. And now that you're here and we've got your audio, Welcome, Dee Davis, sustainability expert and emerging author speaker. Hi, Dee.
Hi, I'm coming at you from the Philadelphia airport today.
Oh, wow.
I'm ready to hop on a plane and go back home, but I had to join you guys before.
This is so funny. Here I was, Sue, thinking it was my energy that was preventing it. Oh, you're in Philly? That explains everything. All right. Happy Friday. So talk to me, Dee. Let me ask you a question. When it comes to credibility, you do presentations, you lead stuff, in your construction industry, that you're puppeteering stuff. Talk about this credibility piece. What's your experience of credibility when you've done any public speaking? When you establish your credibility?
Yeah, I think what you said is really important. You don't have to be the most experienced. I mean, sometimes you're going to have your audience is going to be, you might have people in the room that are more experienced than you.
Ding, ding,
You
ding.
might have people in the room that are older than you, that, have been in the industry longer or whatever, but they came to your talk for a reason, because you have something to say to them that maybe they don't know, or maybe you show a different perspective. And so just it's you have to keep reminding yourself that, to have confidence in what you bring to the table, because every single person brings something different, and it's all good.
Yeah, and you just set up perfectly for the passage in here that I want to reread, right, to emphasize. Are you ready? It's on page 148 above Sue's piece, and it says, it pays dividends to put careful thought into what your credibility is and how it will be communicated to the audience, right? And so it's not just reading your bio. That's, you follow? Like, a bio is written for a certain time in a certain context, right? But what's the credibility for this audience, this occasion, this talk? Your bio may not even communicate. It may say, well, you're credible this and credible that, but what about this talk? So it pays dividends to put careful thought into what is your credibility. Not all, not every, not best, not most, but for this now, for your audience to get what they need to get. Thank you for that contribution. That's on point. That led me to this piece that I wanted to emphasize. There's a word down here, most, that I wanted to correct, or I wish I could go back last year and edit it out, right? That always happens, by the way. D. Okay, just FYI. That word seemed good at the time, and now as I'm reading it back, I have new thoughts and evolved ideas about it, right? So we must live with our own evolution. It's not an imperfection, it's our own evolution and new ideas that we have to add in the moment. But you set me up to read that sentence again. It pays dividends to put careful thought into what your credibility is and how it will be communicated to your audience, right? So here we are in Get a Klu in 52 for Speakers with Sue, co-author Sue Mathieson, and aspiring and emerging speaker author Dee Davis. And I'm Kluby. I'm Jeff Klubeck, and it's fun to come here every Friday and be jovial and let my dynamism come through. And it's just, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but am I not emulating everything that we're talking about, right? And
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're such an amazing role model for what we talk about, because and that's what I love about going through these tips, because you've proven time and time again this is what works. This is what's we can expect and what we can aspire to. So yeah.
And the thing is, I didn't create all of this. I learned it, and now I'm just teaching it, right? So it's funny. It's like I think about my students all the time, and how expensive textbooks, and now it's easy to get digital versions of textbooks and the whole deal, but like campuses are smart, trying to find ways to make textbooks affordable, but the publishing industry is an industry. It needs to eat, right? So I used to kind of play Robin Hood a little bit years ago when I taught in other campuses. I'm not going to mention which ones. But I'm saying, public speaking hasn't changed in gazillion years. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you don't have to buy 10th edition of public speaking textbook with such and such author who's got a deal with the department to make sure that their books get purchased, because nonverbal is always nonverbal, and introductions are always introductions, and audience analysis has always been audience analysis. The only thing that's changed is the technology that we're using to deliver public speaking, right? But otherwise, public speaking's tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them. It's never changed, right? Audience analysis, persuasion, organizing thoughts, outlining, elements of intros, elements of conclusion, transition sentence. Nothing's changed. There's nothing new under the sun when it comes to public speaking. I didn't invent any of this, but I am being inventive in how I deliver it. And today we're talking about the credibility that comes through. I got 22 years. Yeah, it's like I got 22 years teaching public speaking, but didn't you get a C when you took the course? Hey, stop it. I had other things going on. D, I don't know if you were here for that, but when I took public speaking as a freshman, I got a C in the course. Maybe even a C- if I looked up my transcripts. But it's not because you want to know what's funny. This is kind of funny, pun intended. D's means degrees, right? D is, I looked it up. D is minimally passing, right? But D Davis is superior and outstanding. But anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
D Davis does not get D's.
Well, yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, that's funny. I was joking with my students. It's like on the grading scale, I used to teach in the community college district. It was just A, B, C, D, or F, right? There were no pluses and minuses, but at San Diego State, there's pluses and minuses. So I'm looking at the scale and the grading. I'm like D minus. I'm like, all right, I don't know. Can I curse? Can I use bad language? Just be like, who the fuck gives somebody a D minus? Are you kidding? Just do the student a favor and fail them, because why trick them into thinking that they actually passed the class? If you fail them, at least they'll be motivated to take course forgiveness and replace that D minus with an A to raise their GPA. Like D minus has to be one of the silliest grades on the face of grading, or the history of grading on the face of the planet, or whatever. It's like, really, you got a D minus? Like, really? Like in my class, I go out of my way to make it as easy for them as possible, because I know they're terrified of public speaking. So you run and jump, I'll get you over, I promise. Right? I even tell them, if you do all of your work and you deliver all of your speeches, I want to unofficially promise that the worst grade you'll get in this class is a C, right? Because if you finish what you started and you do what you showed up for and you do all your work and you're responsible, I don't care if you scored 30% on everything. If you complete 100%, it averages out to a C, right? And I can't officially promise, right? But like my joke with my students is, you're going to have to work harder to get a D than you are to get a C or better.
Yeah.
If you just follow the path that I laid out for you, if you just run and jump, if you just finish what you started, right? And so that's the coach in me. That's the dad in me. That's the student in me that got help from others. That's like just absolutely pathologically driven to give everything I got to my students as well. So we're coming up on that time, right? You guys know that we're with Sue, we're with D. I'm Jeff Klubeck. This is Get a Klu in 52. And drum roll, please. Last call for comments, questions, jokes, riddles, haikus, limericks, or expressions of gratitude.
For me, it's always fun to be here, and it is very uplifting. So I thank you for the energy that you bring. Dee, lovely to see you, and love having others come in and join the conversation.
Yeah. Dee, you really do make it a lot more fun. You lift the energy up quite a bit. And so everybody else, I mean, we're in last call, but just a reminder, the link mechanism is going to be the same every single week. So next week it's tinyurl.com/klutip36. So if you ever want to join live and get into the conversation with Dee and Sue and myself, have at it. What have you got to lose, right? None of us are getting paid to be here, so let's have some fun. Okay, we're just doing this out of the goodness of our heart. We're creating content. We're pursuing engagement. And it's funny, I was at a networking event last night. You guys know that I joined this group, Provisors, right? So there was Provisors at Night quarterly networking group, and 2-3 people come up to me like, "Hey Jeff, I saw your posts." I'm like, "You did?" And I'm thinking, well, why didn't you like or comment or share? Never mind. It's not about likes, comments, and share. I'm not addicted to social media like some of these generations, like tapping my veins like a heroin addict for like likes, comments, and. But what I'm getting at, the point that I'm getting at, is like, we don't know who's watching. We don't know the impact that we have. So we just got to keep doing what we're doing and believe that it's going to make a difference somewhere. So I'm grateful that you guys are here with me every week, or Sue, definitely every week, because you're co-author, of course. You're kind of obligated, Sue. But
yeah,
your attendance and participation is special, and I'm going to make sure I say that every time that you join us. It means a lot. I don't want to put words into Sue's mouth, but on our behalf. It means a lot that you're here. And so we're in last call. What do you guys got?
Well, I just want to say that, this definitely adds to my week. I look forward to participating every week. And, I feel like there's some good karma happening. I've had some really cool things happen in the last few weeks. And I'm just going to say that I think it's because I'm coming and hanging out with you guys for a little bit.
Yay.
I can't argue with that, Sue. Remember, I was telling you I had a pretty wonderfully karmic morning. I can't take the time to tell the stories right now, but I had a vivid dream last night. And my first meeting this morning, I realized the person I saw in the dream was actually the person that I was on the Zoom with. They weren't the same person, but the person in the dream represented the experience. And then I'll just say briefly, one of my heroes in life who's no longer on the planet with us. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Tony Gwynn, D, like if you know San Diego and Tony Gwynn baseball, Tony Gwynn is just one of the most special people in the world to me. And months ago, I had reached out to, I don't know if it was months ago. I don't know if it was a year ago. I forget when I initiated a LinkedIn request to his wife, Dr. Alicia Gwynn, who I know is doing philanthropic and charitable stuff. And I didn't know if or not she was involved in the youth baseball, but I reached out and I sent a LinkedIn request. And last night she accepted it. And then I had this vivid dream right before my 8 o'clock session. And then as soon as I got off the 8 o'clock session, which was a brand new client for me and an amazing opportunity to do what I'm really gifted at, which was part of what happened in the dream, is I'll tell you, I ran into Tony Robbins and I was stalking him until he looked me in the eye and knew who I was. I needed Tony Robbins to know who I was. And the reality is the meeting that I had with my good friend Troy Hoffman this morning, he knows who I am. And he said, Jeff, I've been around all of the best coaches, authors, speakers in the planet, and you're the only one who can help us with this. And it was literally what I wanted Tony Robbins to tell me. My buddy Troy was telling me. And so it's going to lead to a new project. And it's anyway, so wow, that was special. And then I get off the phone there and I get off of that Zoom and then boom, LinkedIn, Dr. Alicia Gwynn responds to my message. And this is cute. She says, hello, Dr. Klubeck. And I'm thinking to myself, I only have a master's. Anyway, she says, hello, Dr. Klubeck. And I had messaged her last night. I'm like, it's great to connect. I'm not alone in all the stories I have about how your family has made a difference. Not just Tony, but his son, was influential to my son out in Arizona with travel ball. And, Dr. Gwynn is an inspiration in what she's doing, charitably. And I got story after story after story. And I'm not alone. There's thousands, if not millions of people that can talk to Dr. Gwynn about how important that name is in our lives and in our community. And so I said, I'm not alone in all the stories I have about how much impact your family has had on my life. And I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where I'm having a lot of impact on other people's lives. And if there is anything I can lend to make a difference in any of your efforts, I want to know, can we meet or can we Zoom? And this morning it came in, hey, Jeff, life without Tony is different, but I'm fortunate with my, kids and grandkids, and I'm working on the foundation and I'm managing the youth, travel ball clubs. And I would love to meet or Zoom with you with a smiley face. And so I need to follow up on that. And I'm going to be, hopefully if I get to meet her and give her a big hug, and I'm going to cry. And then when I catch myself and compose myself, I'm going to find out what she's doing and where there's an opportunity for me to lend my skills, my talents, my content. I have the vision and I will never stop visualizing.
That's awesome.
What's going to happen when Dr. Gwynn learns about the integrity game? Right. And how I can help, giving people their voice, giving people their confidence. And why am I saying all of that, Dee? Because there's something in the air, karmically, energetically. Right. And so I wasn't going to tell the whole story, but I couldn't stop myself. Right. I feel it too. And yeah, it goes back to there's so much energy going on. I thought it was the energy that was preventing you from logging in. Now we all know it's Philly Airport. That'll prevent anybody from getting anywhere. But all right, enough of the fun and games and the jokes. We're still in last call. If you guys have anything that you want to add or contribute before we sign off today.
Well, thanks for sharing that story. That was really cool.
Yeah, I when I told Sue, I started crying, but I'm keeping it humorous to keep from crying, because that's how much I love. That's how much it means. That's how much I want to give and connect with the people. Anyway, it's all of that and then some.
Very special. Yeah.
Last call going once.
Yeah, and nothing more from me. Again, it's just I love being here. I love the energy, and I go away with a fabulous start to my weekend.
Wonderful. Well, here loves you too. It's mutual. What else? Anything else from you, Dee, before we sign off today?
No, I think I'm good. I'm going to pack up and head over to my gate, but I'm so glad I got to finally, it took me a few tries, but I got to log in and spend a little time with you guys.
Yeah,
So,
well,
Lovely to have you. Safe travel.
Fly safe, travel safe. I'll feel much better when you're out of that Philly airport. No, I'm joking. No offense to Philly. Philly's a wonderful city, brotherly love, and I've enjoyed myself every time I was in Philly. Even when they were throwing batteries at me. No, I'm joking. Philly can be tough when you're an opposing fan in their ballpark, especially. Philly can be tough. Yeah, 25 years ago, I did a baseball game. I saw a baseball game in every major league stadium, so Philly was unique. But I love the Philly Fanatic. The Philly Fanatic is my favorite mascot. As a matter of fact, I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to. He's such my favorite mascot that he's with me here all the time. The Philly Fanatic. He's the best mascot in all of baseball, other than the San Diego Chicken. But the San Diego Chicken isn't baseball specific. The San Diego Chicken will do football and all kinds of other things. So other than the chicken, the Philly Fanatic, head and shoulders the best
I have
mascot
not
in all
seen
of
the
baseball.
chicken in years. Is
Yeah.
that still a thing?
We should check in on the chicken to see if the chicken is okay. The chicken
Checking
is
on
a
the
chicken.
chicken. We need
Check
to do
in
that.
on the chicken. That's crazy. Don't say that 6 times fast. All right, you guys. I love you very much, and I'm always here for you guys and anybody out there online. You guys know how to get a hold of us. I'm not doing any promotion with links and codes and promos and this and that. I think we've done ourselves a good service for today. Remember, establish your ethos, establish your credibility. Tell them what you're going to tell them, then tell them what you're going to tell. Tell them what you're going to tell them. Tell them and tell them what you told them. We've got tip or element number 5 coming up next week, which is tip number 36 overall. All right, I'm going to catch my breath and I'm going to respond to Dr. Gwynn, and I'm going to finish up my week. And I'm super, super, super grateful. I love you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Love you all. Okay. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye now.